Your car fires up, runs for a second or two, then dies. Or it starts, idles rough, and stalls unless you keep your foot on the gas. That's one of the most frustrating problems because it feels like the car almost works. From a mechanic's view, this usually means the engine can ignite fuel briefly, but something is missing to keep it running. Steady fuel delivery, stable air control, consistent spark, or the right sensor signals. In this video, we're going to be talking about 6 reasons your car starts, but won't stay running. It's the Car Problems YouTube channel. Subscribe, and let's get started. Reason 1. Not enough fuel pressure or weak fuel delivery. An engine can start on the initial burst of fuel, then stall when it needs a steady supply. A weak fuel pump, clogged fuel filter, failing fuel pressure regulator, or restricted fuel line can do this. Clues include long crank times, the car dying when you press the gas, or it running better for a moment if you cycle the key on and off a few times before starting. On some cars, you might hear the fuel pump prime when you turn the key to ON. If you don't hear it, that's a big hint. The real fix is measuring fuel pressure with a gauge and comparing it to spec. If pressure is low, you find out whether the pump isn't producing, the filter is blocked, or the regulator is bleeding pressure off. Reason 2. Vacuum leak or major unmetered air leak. Engines need the right balance of air and fuel. If extra air sneaks in after the airflow sensor or past the throttle body, the engine can go too lean and stall, especially at idle. Common leak points are cracked intake boots, split vacuum hoses, a loose intake clamp, a leaking intake manifold gasket, or a brake booster hose that popped off. A big vacuum leak often causes a high or unstable idle right before it stalls, and you may hear a hissing sound. Fixing it means finding the leak, replacing the cracked hose or boot, and making sure everything is clamped and sealed. Reason 3. Dirty throttle body or failing idle air control system. At idle, the engine needs a controlled, tiny amount of air to keep running. On many cars, that's handled by an idle air control valve or an electronic throttle body that manages idle airflow. When carbon buildup gums up the throttle plate or idle passages, the engine can start but can't keep a stable idle, so it stalls. This often shows up as the car starting fine if you press the gas slightly, but dying the moment you let off. Sometimes it's worse when the engine is cold or when you turn on electrical loads like headlights or the AC. A proper throttle body cleaning and an idle relearn procedure fixes a lot of these cases. If the idle control motor or electronic throttle is failing, it may need replacement. Reason 4. Bad MAF sensor or MAP sensor, giving the wrong airflow reading. The computer needs to know how much air is entering the engine so it can add the right amount of fuel. If the MAF sensor is dirty or failing, or the MAP sensor is reading wrong, the fuel mixture can be off enough that the engine starts then stalls. A classic sign is it runs slightly better if you unplug a faulty MAF on some vehicles because the computer switches to a default backup strategy. You may also have poor throttle response, rough, idle, and a check engine light, though not always. The fix is scanning for codes, looking at live data, and cleaning or replacing the sensor if it's confirmed bad. Randomly replacing sensors without checking data can get expensive fast. Reason 5. Immobilizer or security system is cutting fuel. This one fools people because the engine can start and then die quickly, almost like someone turned the key off. Many immobilizer systems allow a brief start, then shut down if the key chip isn't recognized or there's a security fault. Clues include a flashing security light on the dash, a key warning symbol, or the problem happening suddenly after changing keys, a weak key fob battery, or wiring issues around the ignition switch. Fixing it may be as simple as trying a spare key or replacing a fob battery, but some cases require diagnosing the immobilizer antenna, ignition switch, or body control module communication. Reason 6. EGR valve stuck open, or EVAP purge valve stuck open. These are air path problems that can kill idle. An EGR valve that's stuck open lets exhaust gases flood the intake at idle, which can make the engine stumble and stall right after starting. An EVAP purge valve stuck open can dump fuel vapors into the intake at the wrong time, also causing a hard start and stall. Clues include rough idle, stalling when coming to a stop, and sometimes a fuel smell. You'll usually find related fault codes, but not always. The fix is confirming the valve is sticking with testing or inspection and replacing it if it's faulty. What you should check first so you don't waste money. Start with the basics. Is there fuel in the tank? Is the battery strong? And are there any warning lights? Then listen to how it dies. If it dies instantly like a switch, think security system. If it stumbles and fades out, think fuel, air, or idle control. If you have access to an OBD2 scanner, checking for codes is a big shortcut. Even when there's no check engine light, codes can be stored. The takeaway. When an engine starts but won't stay running, it's usually not mystery magic. It's typically a steady fuel delivery problem, a big air leak, idle airflow control trouble, a sensor reporting bad airflow, the immobilizer shutting it down, or a valve, like EGR, EVAP, causing an idle killing mixture issue.